The biggest stories today now, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, describes President Muhammadu Buhari as the most Labour-friendly president. And still on today's edition, the incoming rides the outgoing, or your state politics as well on the news. This is Plus Politics, and I'm David Alabi. Now, welcome to tonight's edition of Plus Politics, and now every 1st of May, Nigeria marks its International Workers' Day. This year is no different, though, tied around uniting workers for social and economic advancement. But has the Nigerian worker been treated fairly by the Nigerian government? That remains a big question to deal with. But joining me now in our Lagos studio, we have Francis Chileka, a public affairs analyst. Good evening and many thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Happy Workers' Day.
Same to you. Well, some say we have little or nothing to celebrate, but I say irrespective of whatever realities we're facing, little successes need to be made. And for the fact that we are here, it's still a happy day. But now let's start with this interesting stance. Now, Nigeria, the giant of Africa, most definitely joins the rest of the world to mark World Workers' Day. But do you think we've made so much of progress, considering where we are coming from last year's celebration, and now taking cognizance of the fact that we now have the minimum wage bill become law, and it's now 30,000 naira. And some would also say, according to the Minister of Employment, that's Dr. Chris Ngige, says that, well, President Muhammadu Buhari is a Labour-friendly president and will continue to work towards ensuring the welfare of Nigerians are met.
Are we truly the giant of Africa? I mean, can we still, hold our heads high and say, yes, we're giant of Africa? If we say that, then we're all deceiving ourselves. Just like the way the Nigerian Labour Congress deceives itself. The average Nigerian worker, his wages is just paltry. It's just, for me, it's not wages. It's no longer salary. It's like a dash. So if I'm saying from last year to this year, I don't see any changes. I don't see any improvement. If you're saying people that were earning 18,000 last year are going to start earning 30,000 naira, do your mathematics. When they were earning 18,000 naira, the exchange rate was 85 naira to a dollar. So it meant you could buy 207 liters of petrol at 18,000 a month. Now at 30,000, the exchange rate is about 350. Do your mathematics. It brings you back to the same 207 liters of petrol. So what is the improvement we're talking about? Some
would say irrespective of inflation and other macroeconomic indices, we should still celebrate the upward review. But now, talking about this upward review now, the bigger question still remains whether or not we'll see states have a strong implementation of this law. You look at states like Imo, Taraba, Niger, that have had histories of faulty payment of entitlement to pensioners. We also look at Ondo, Ekiti, Abia, Kogi states, etc., owing workers' salaries. These were some of the issues that I raised earlier on when we were having the back and forth with whether or not we should have 30,000 naira as the new minimum wage. But now, to what extent do you expect us to see a move forward and a strong implementation, both from the part of the union leaders as well as the state governments this time around?
We don't have a union in Nigeria. The Nigerian Labour Congress,
there's the NLC,
as far as I'm concerned, they're not in existence.
The ULC.
No, they're not in existence.
Why do you say so?
They're not as strong as they used to be. During the time of the likes of Kokori, that's when we had Labour Union that came out forcefully to protect the interests of the Nigerian worker. Today, we don't have a Labour Union. Everybody's on their own.
These will tell you that they strongly pushed for this new minimum wage. They had conversations. They went on strikes.
What have they ever achieved other than their selfish interests when it comes to strike?
So you're saying all of this just profits the leaders of the unions?
That's all. Now, look at it. Imo State, you mentioned Kogi State. Kogi is owing 36 months in arrears of salaries. The governor collects his salary every month. His commissioners get paid. They get their fringe benefits. He has a security vote to play with. why are they finding it difficult to pay a minimum wage to those who hold the institution for them to function?
You faltered the strategies or the means of communication of these union leaders. Now, to what extent do you expect to see a turnaround, or what strategies do you rather say they should take up to ensure that we have implementation of
Once
this?
a body is compromised, it can't do anything. I would say this.
But changing the narrative now.
I would say that, first of all, the labor needs to be rejigged. It is compromised. Because I hear them saying, oh, we're going to shut down states that don't pay. How many states did they shut down in the past? How many? So the problem is that the Nigerian employment system should be changed drastically. We should stop this idea of paying people monthly salaries. Let us evolve like the world. We call ourselves the giant of Africa. What stops Nigeria from paying hourly wages?
Does this still change the narrative?
It will change a lot of. It will change a lot of.
Not necessarily pay this.
It will change a lot of that, because when you do that, you find out that you are paying people either daily wages or you're paying them weekly wages. So it will change the narrative. If somebody knows he walks into Plus TV, he's going to work for 7 hours, and he works for 5 days, you pay him. It won't drag till 1 month.
But how feasible do you think now, with all of these states owing entitlement to pensioners, and then we also have workers' salaries not being paid, to what extent do you think they would also take measures to ensure that now that it's 30,000 naira, it has been paid? 18,000, they had issues, now it's almost double.
The problem with the Nigerian system is we're always asking the people to make sacrifices. Those we elect into offices don't make sacrifices.
How do we make them make sacrifices?
They have to. That's why I keep saying we need to go back to reviewing the salaries of people that are in government. How much do your senators earn? How much do your honorable members earn? How much do governors earn? We need to know. The Nigerian people have a right to know. Now, if a senator, for instance, the news circulates that a senator earns 36 million naira a month, is it worth it? What is it doing for the country? So, if a senator is earning 36 million naira in a month, it means that somebody earning 30,000 naira will have to work 1,200 months to earn 1 month's salary of a senator. That is wickedness.
Okay. Now, talking about wickedness, some would say, or let's take it, I wouldn't want to use the word wickedness now. Let's just take a look at allegations of corruption now. I'm making a reference to the Paris Club refund to the last tranche of 20 billion naira with reference to Ondo State. Now, the state governor was called out for having fixed their money in a private account instead of disbursing it for workers' salaries to be paid. We know the history of Ondo State and paying of workers' salaries, and he came out to refute such claims and said a governor cannot even take such stance and then put such funds in a private account. But now, how do you think we should now be utilizing such interventions? The Paris Club refund is just one, and we see corruption also allegedly stamped on that as well.
Yeah, I think the federal government needs to take a stand. They have the ace to deal with it because they are the ones who actually give out these bailout funds. So the federal government should put machinery in place that ensures that these monies are used for what they are meant for. If a state government is giving, say, 2 billion for pensioners, and the pensioners are crying that they've not received the money, then the federal government should take steps to ensure that whatever funds due for that state in the next allocation is not released.
Well, whether or not that would work, we'll just take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll also have another guest joining us, and it's going to be much more heated than now. We've just risen the tempo. Stay tuned.